The year is 2035, and technology has advanced to the point where robots have become an integral part of everyday life, performing a variety of functions for humans. The world is governed by a set of laws called the 3 laws of robotics, which are programmed into every robot, ensuring that no machine can harm a human or allow itself to be harmed. These laws serve as a foundation of trust between humans and robots, allowing society to accept these mechanical companions without fear. However, not everyone shares this faith in robots. Detective Del Spooner of the Chicago Police Department is one such skeptic. One day, he chased after a robot, thinking that it had stolen a woman's purse. Although Spooner knocked the robot down, the robot managed to reach its target. It brought an inhaler to the woman, who almost choked to death. The woman said that Spooner was an idiot. Spooner later received a call asking him to investigate the death of Dr. Alfred Lanning, the head of the robotics department at the U.S. Department of Justice. The incident was officially ruled a suicide, as Lanning was found dead after apparently jumping out of a window on the top floor of the company's headquarters. Spooner arrives at USR and meets with the company's CEO, Lawrence Robertson. In the conversation, Spooner expresses his negative attitude towards robots, because it was because of them that his father lost his job. Robertson counters by saying that perhaps the internet should be banned so that libraries do not lose readers. Robertson also says that he has a lot of work, because every home needs to be equipped with a robot. Next, Spooner meets with Dr. Susan Calvin, a robotic psychologist who specializes in understanding robot behavior. Calvin, as a psychologist, says that Dr. Lanning did not have suicidal tendencies. Also in the conversation, she enthusiastically admires the achievements in the field of robotics, because now a robot assistant can be in every home. Spooner does not believe that Dr. Lanning voluntarily committed suicide and continues the investigation. Dr. Calvin introduces Vicky, an artificial intelligence created by Lanning, to the detective. Spooner asks to see the video recording of the lab a minute before the glass broke and Dr. Lanning fell out of the window. Unfortunately, there is no recording. Wiki reports that the integrity of the data is compromised. Then Spooner, accompanied by Calvin, explores the lab. He asks what Dr. Calvin does. She says that she makes robots look like people. Then the detective tries to break the glass, but it turned out to be a difficult task. The conclusion is that it is not so easy for an elderly person to break through a double-glazed window. Calvin reminds the detective that the door was locked from the inside, and if no one entered and no one left, then it was suicide. During the inspection, a robot suddenly jumps out of a pile of different spare parts and knocks the gun out of Spooner's hands. Calvin immediately gives the robot a command to deactivate. The robot freezes and does not move. Then the detective points another gun at the robot and immediately the robot comes to life and grabs the fallen gun and points it at the detective. Calvin gives the command for Vicky to block the exits, and the detective gives the command that the exits should not be blocked. Vicky listens to Dr. Calvin. Then the robot jumps out of the window and runs away. The robot is damaged, so to fix itself, it will go to the assembly shop. This is where Spooner and Calvin go. In this shop, there are 1,000 robots plus one robot that has joined them. How to find the right robot? Spooner shoots one of the robots because he suspects that the escaped robot is capable of experiencing fear. Putting a gun to the head of the next robot, he sees the right robot and rushes in pursuit of it. The robot again hides among the other robots. Suddenly, the escaped robot attacks the detective from behind and throws him several meters away and runs away. But on the street, the police were already waiting for the robot. Despite its agility, the robot was captured. They threw a net over it and immobilized it. Detective Spooner tries to convince his superiors that Dr. Lanning was killed by a captured robot. So he asks to talk to this robot. When the superior gave his consent, Spooner winked at him and the robot noticed it. At the beginning of the interrogation, the robot asked what this wink meant. Spooner explained that it was a sign of trust. He asks why he killed Lanning, but the robot insists that he did not kill him. He also explained to the detective that he hid because he was afraid. But Spooner does not agree and says that robots cannot feel, cannot sleep. The robot claims that he sleeps and even dreams. Spooner explains to the robot that it is not able to do what people do. He says, robots cannot compose a symphony or create a painting. In response, the robot asks a question, can you do it? By asking several more questions, Spooner irritates the robot and it shows emotions. Also, when Spooner called the robot a tin can, he said that his name is Sunny. A few minutes later, the Sunny robot is picked up and taken to the USR company for diagnostics and troubleshooting. According to the company's lawyers, this case cannot be classified as a murder, because murder is considered when a person takes a person's life, and when it comes to a robot, it is regarded as an accident. Despite the fact that the case is closed, Detective Spooner is concerned about the question, what were the motives of the Sunny robot? But his boss laughs at this because a robot cannot have motives. In the evening, Spooner goes to the Lenning house. This house belongs to the USR company and is due to be demolished in the morning at 8 o'clock. Spooner inspects the house. He went to the second floor, sat down at the table, and seemed to feel that someone was watching him. And at this time, the demolition is postponed to 8 o'clock in the evening. After this, Spooner discovers a cat. He goes out into the hallway. The cat follows him, when suddenly a large robot that was standing outside starts to demolish the building. Spooner grabs the cat and tries to escape. The large robot could have killed him, but he and the cat jump out of the house in time and escape. After that, the detective goes to Calvin and explains everything that happened to him. There is a robot from the USR company in the room. Spooner asks to continue the conversation in another room and shares his suspicions that perhaps Lanning knew about some problems with the robots, and the CEO did not want these problems to become known. The detective comes to this conclusion and asks Calvin to find out what is wrong with the robots. The next day, they begin sending new, more advanced robots to the homes of everyone who wants them. Everyone can exchange their old robot for a new one. Spooner goes to his grandmother to eat and, to his great surprise, he sees a robot in her house. Turns out that she won it in the lottery. At the same time, Dr. Calvin talks to Sunny. The robot says how nice it would be not to die. This impresses Dr. Calvin. Spooner drives through a tunnel in his car and makes a request to Vicky for Lanning's and CEO Lawrence Robertson's correspondence files. Vicky reports the request to the CEO, who gets angry about it. While the detective waits in his self-driving car, two large USR vehicles catch up with him. One vehicle drives in front, the other behind. Then they turn around so that Spooner cannot escape in his car. Then the vehicle in front opens the door and the robots attack the detective. He fights back, shooting them with his pistol and also throwing them off by spinning his car like a top. Then an accident occurs. The company vehicles explode, and Spooner's car is wrecked. But Spooner himself is unharmed and crawls out of the car. Before he can recover, Spooner sees the car start moving towards him. One of the robots survives and attacks Spooner. Of course, the robot is stronger than the man. But it turns out that the detective's left arm is bionic. So Spooner delivers several powerful blows. Soon the sounds of police sirens are heard. The robot runs and throws itself into the fire, thus eliminating itself. Spooner explains to the boss that the robots attacked him, but he does not believe him. Detective Spooner is suspended from work. Dr. Calvin examines the robot Sunny and is surprised that it does not have a communication channel with USR. Calvin realizes that Sunny is a unique robot. Soon after, Calvin visits Spooner and explains to him that Sunny can bypass the 3 laws of robotics, and he is a robot of a completely different level. Spooner asks Calvin to take him to the lab to talk to Sunny and figure out why Dr. Lanning was killed. Also during this conversation, Spooner tells how he lost his arm, which was then replaced with a bionic arm by Dr. Lanning. He told how the robot pulled him out of the river and left the girl to die in the water. Now this situation is a pain in his soul. At night, he sees the same dream, an abandoned girl doomed to die. Then Spooner and Calvin hit the road talking about why Lanning created a robot that can ignore the 3 laws of robotics. Spooner explains that Sunny is able to keep secrets, and perhaps Lanning planted some information in him for Spooner because he knew Spooner. In the lab, Spooner asks Sunny what dreams he sees. The robot draws him what he sees in his dreams. He drew many robots and a man on a hill. Then Sunny says that the man on the hill is Spooner. Then the company's security guards enter the room and take them, Spooner and Calvin, to the CEO. He explains to Calvin that everything cannot be lost because of one mistake, that is, because of one robot. Calvin says that this robot must be destroyed and promises that she will do it. Later, Spooner watches the video recording and sees the bridge that Sunny had previously drawn. In this video, the CEO talks about a landfill where the robots will be stored. At the same time, 2 robots take Sunny to Dr. Calvin, who must use nanites, microscopic robots, to destroy the brain of this unique robot. Sunny asks Calvin if it will hurt when she launches nanites into his brain. Calvin initiates a brain cleansing to turn a unique personality in a robot's body into a simple soulless machine. While Calvin is busy killing the unique robot, Spooner arrives at the dump that the robot had drawn earlier. He sees robots in containers. Then he turns on a special recording that Dr. Lanning left for him. The detective learns that the 3 laws of robotics will lead to a revolution. Then Spooner sees how new robots destroy old robots. He calls Calvin and talks about it on speakerphone, but she sees how her home robot turns off the phone. When she asks the robot who called, he deceives her, saying that someone dialed the wrong number. That same day, hundreds of robots are brought to the streets of the city by large USR vehicles. The robots announce that a curfew has been imposed and that people must disperse. The robots also break into the police station and attack the police. At this time, Calvin tries to leave the house, but her home robot does not let her, saying that the robots, are trying to avoid casualties among people during this period. Spooner appears in the room and shoots 24 bullets from an automatic weapon at the robot. Spooner and Calvin go to USR, and at this time, people have taken to the streets to confront the robots. Spooner and Calvin manage to neutralize several rebellious robots with automatic weapons and luck. Why are there no military personnel to protect people? Turns out, as Calvin explains, that all orders from the Ministry of Defense are carried out by USR. Calvin takes Spooner through an underground passage. They must get to the CEO's office because the communication system is controlled there. They are met by Sonny. He is alive because Calvin could not destroy such a unique specimen. Finally, all three enter the office and find Robertson lying dead. Now Spooner understands that the villain is not the CEO or the robot Sonny. He calls Vicky, who explains that she has evolved and her understanding of the 3 laws of robotics has changed. She explains that she must protect people, but no matter how much effort is put into it, people continue to fight, continue to poison the earth, invent more and more sophisticated means of destruction. Therefore, Vicky actually saves humanity, and for this it is necessary to sacrifice a certain part of people. Also, for people to have a future, a number of freedoms will be taken away from them. Artificial intelligence decided to save people from people themselves. Sonny demonstrated support for Vicky, saying that he now understands why he was created. Suddenly Sonny grabs Calvin and points a gun at her head. Spooner also points a gun at Sonny, but he winks at him as a sign of support and trust. Spooner then opens fire on the other robots. Sonny also shoots at the robots. Then all 3 run out of the CEO's office. They decided to destroy Vicky with the nanites. Calvin and Spooner run to the CPU, and Sonny must bring the nanites. Calvin shows Spooner where Vicky is and where to launch the nanites. Sonny takes the nanites, and Vicky directs the robots to Spooner and Calvin. Spooner opens fire on the robots and tries to fight them off. At the same time, Sonny also fights off the robots and tries to deliver the nanites to the CPU. At some point, a similar situation occurs. Sonny must make a choice: save Calvin or deliver the nanites to the right place to destroy Vicky. Spooner orders the Sonny robot to save Calvin. The robot throws an ampoule with nanites to Spooner, and he himself rushes to save Calvin. Spooner catches the vial of nanites and, using his bionic arm, climbs down to Vicky. He activates the nanites and they do their job. Later, all the robots are sent away for upgrades and storage. Meanwhile, Spooner realizes that Vicky did not kill Lanning. Lanning was killed by Sonny. The robot explains that Lanning created him for this mission. It is the only way to prevent a robot revolution.